Let's talk about the Chinese Gaokao, or as I like to call it, Survivor, Academic Edition. It's the largest exam in the world, where 13 million students battle it out over 2 days for a chance at a university education. Now that's what I call a Hunger Games sequel. You heard that right, 13 million, it's like the population of a small country. Can you imagine how big of a battle this is? It's even more intense than Game of Thrones. You know, when I read this number, it feels like I'm looking at my student loan balance. The more I look at it, the more it grows. It seems that Chinese children really like exams. After all, who doesn't like staying up late studying in a stuffy classroom with millions of competitors? It's like a crazy party, except no one tells them that the theme of this party is pain and suffering. And this year, it's not just about math and science. This year's college entrance essay topic is unique. It quotes Xi Jinping's quote. The Gaokao essay questions featured his quotes, and students were asked to write about them. It's like writing an SAT essay that requires you to analyze Biden's Twitter deeply. Blowing out someone else's candle will not make your own shine brighter, yes, but if your candle is lit by your job prospects, then this statement may not be accurate. After all, when your employment rate is lower than your credit score, you may really hope that some competitors disappear. But the real kicker is what awaits these students after the Gaokao. You'd think, after such a grueling exam, they'd get to relax, right? Wrong. Welcome to the real world, kids, where youth unemployment is soaring at over 20%, and university tuition fees have skyrocketed by up to 54% in some places. It's like graduating from the Hunger Games only to find out you've been selected for the Triwizard Tournament. However, the Chinese government seems to have found a solution to this problem, encouraging college students to work in rural areas. Yes, you heard that right, their solution is to let all computer scientists and engineers go farming. I guess they might grow some binary corn in the fields, or write some agricultural automation code in Python. It's like using your Ferrari to transport goods. It can definitely do it, but is that really the best solution? This year's college entrance essay topic has sparked a lot of discussion, with some saying it's political intrusion into education, while others believe it's about students making political statements. However, I want to say that if this can help students not be afraid of the darkness when they can't find a job, and no longer try to blow out other people's candles, then it's also a gain. Overall, China's college entrance examination is like a tragic comedy, with laughter and tears, hope and despair. If you want to attend a real party, maybe you should take the Chinese college entrance exam, because there is excitement, competition, and millions of people praying to win this battle. Recently, there has been a special news that has attracted everyone's attention, even as much as the national attention on the college entrance examination. Do you know Hu Jiang? He is a senior executive at Global Engineering Project Management, Beijing Company, Limited. Yes, that man who was photographed holding hands with a young woman while shopping in Chengdu's Taikoo Li. As soon as this news came out, it immediately went viral on Weibo's hot search, even more popular than the duck necks with styled hair at Yangtze University. But don't panic, we all misunderstood the relationship between Mr. Hu and Ms. Dong. It turns out that they were just street photography in Chunxi Road, Chengdu, and they met a photographer named Zhang, who asked them to pose as a couple for the shoot. At first, Mr. Hu firmly refused and made it clear that he and Ms. Dong were just ordinary colleagues, but he eventually agreed to the photographer's request due to his close relationship with the masses. However, our onlookers' imagination was too rich, and it resulted in this misunderstanding. I think we should all learn something from Mr. Hu's experience. No matter who you are, where you are, or what you do, remember that your behavior may cause a stir on social media. So, my friends, next time you walk on the street, remember to look around for photographers, because you never know, you might be the next Mr. Hu. Remember, no matter what position you hold, be careful of your behavior, because you never know, you might be the next Weibo hot search. Hello everyone, I'm your news anchor Yali, and we provide you with a one-stop service for China-related news every day. If you have any thoughts or opinions on these topics, please leave a comment in the comment section. And we will read and reply to everyone's comments seriously. China and Russia conducted joint patrols in the Sea of Japan, East China Sea, and the Western Pacific on Tuesday and Wednesday. Chinese and Russian military aircraft entered the Korean Air Defense Identification Zone, KADIZ, without prior notification, prompting South Korea and Japan to scramble fighter jets. This comes just after the recent dispute over the Taiwan Strait between China and the United States. According to local media reports, the Chinese Ministry of Defense stated that the military aircraft entered the KADIZ during a joint patrol exercise. South Korea's Ministry of Defense subsequently lodged a strong protest with Beijing and Moscow. Washington hopes that Blinken's visit to China will be an important step towards thawing the relationship between the world's two largest economies, as President Biden has previously stated. The U.S. government's stance on engaging with China has been questioned domestically, and there have been reports that the U.S. State Department has delayed human rights-related sanctions, export controls, and other sensitive actions in an attempt to mitigate the damage caused by the balloon incident on U.S.-China relations. As the U.S. continues to maintain a tough stance on China, NATO also sees China as a strategic threat. However, the recent shift in U.S. policy towards China from decoupling to risk reduction has sparked intense debate. This Wednesday, scholars analyzed that the U.S. and its European allies are struggling to form a unified policy towards China, with Europe still watching to see how the U.S. will adjust its strategy towards China. As tensions between China and the U.S. continue to escalate in terms of investment in acquiring advanced technology, one of Silicon Valley's most famous venture capital firms, Sequoia Capital, is undergoing a self-split. The company plans to split into 3 independent partners, with new brands for its businesses in China and India, while its European and American businesses will retain their original names. Several Sequoia executives have stated that the company's global business management has become increasingly complex. In the context of escalating tensions between China and the US is discussing investment restrictions on China. Sequoia Capital, which raised a large amount of funds in the US, rooted itself in China, and promoted localization, can be said to be a symbol of the honeymoon period between US capital and Chinese technology companies. Recently, venture capital investors have become increasingly cautious about investing in China. Data from research firm PitchBook shows that last year's transaction volume fell by half to around $69 billion, the lowest level in 6 years. Not all of this is related to geopolitical tensions, as the Chinese economy slowed significantly under strict zero-tolerance restrictions until the end of last year. The World Bank now predicts that the global economy will grow by 2.1% this year, higher than the 1.7% growth forecast in January, thanks to the resilience of US consumer spending and China's faster-than-expected reopening at the beginning of this year. The bank also predicts that the global economy will grow by 2.4% next year, up from this year, but lower than its January estimate of 2.7%. China's relations with some Western countries are not harmonious, with one point of friction involving overseas police stations. China has always denied operating any such police stations, emphasizing that these stations only provide overseas service stations for overseas Chinese affairs, such as driver's license renewal, and that these centers are run by local volunteers rather than Chinese police. China has been accused of setting up secret police stations in multiple countries around the world to monitor and harass local overseas Chinese communities. On June 6, the UK's Home Secretary announced that China had agreed to close its police stations located throughout the UK, in response to requests from the UK government. Peter Humphrey, the founder of China Wise, a risk management firm that has investigated Chinese police stations overseas, said that when the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs responded to their reports in the past, they acknowledged the existence of these overseas bases and claimed that their role was to carry out administrative tasks. However, now that they have been exposed, China has denied them. On June 7, the Prime Minister of Fiji said that Fiji is considering whether to cancel its police exchange agreement with China. He said he hopes to cooperate with countries that share similar democratic values and systems in legislation and judiciary. Chao Xinsheng, the initiator of the Break the Wall movement, has been missing in Laos for a week. The incident may involve Chinese public security cross-border law enforcement. Organizers have launched an online petition, urging the Chinese authorities to disclose Chao's whereabouts. German security agencies have issued a warning that industrial espionage activities from China are becoming increasingly frequent. German Interior Minister Horst Seehofer said that China's espionage activities in Germany's economy, industry, and academic fields have posed a great threat. NATO plans to establish an office in Japan, but French President Emmanuel Macron opposes it, believing that NATO expanding beyond the North Atlantic would be a big mistake. On Tuesday, China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs criticized NATO's eastward expansion as interference in regional affairs and provoking confrontation. Wang Wenbin said that no Cold or Hot War should be allowed to replay in Asia, and called on NATO to keep a clear head. What do you think about NATO setting up an office in Japan? In order to prevent countries such as China from using economic coercion to interfere with the political decisions of EU member states, the EU is about to launch countermeasures. Previously, after Lithuania agreed to allow Taiwan to establish a representative office in the country, Beijing imposed large-scale economic sanctions on Lithuania. Defense analysts said that the General Electric engines used in India's Tejas fighter jets are planned to be assembled in local factories in India, which is a key part of India's efforts to strengthen its national defense industry and break away from its long-standing dependence on Russian equipment to counter China's power. India is the only country that actually conflicts with China, researchers said. They cannot hold the line on their own. Both China and Taiwan have applied to join the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP, but an internal document shows that Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau does not want China to join the CPTPP. Meanwhile, Canada has criticized China's provocative behavior with its military ships, saying it will send more ships to patrol the Taiwan Strait. Mexico's president recently wrote to Xi Jinping requesting help in controlling the export of precursor chemicals used to make opioid painkillers such as fentanyl. China denies any connection to this, and the U.S. recently imposed sanctions on Chinese companies and individuals again. Mexican residents on the U.S.-Mexico border are deeply affected by the harm caused by fentanyl, with a potency of up to 50 times that of heroin when mixed. Local medical institutions provide clean tools and testing for drug users to prevent the spread of viruses. The CEO of Italian tire manufacturer Pirelli hopes that the Italian government will help limit the influence of a Chinese state-owned investor on the company and warns that the company's independence is threatened. The conflict over who controls Pirelli is a reflection of the escalating economic tensions between the West and China. Business executives and politicians in Western countries once welcomed Chinese investment, but are now increasingly wary. A new economic circle centered on Russia is taking shape. It has been a year since Russia invaded Ukraine, and the division of world trade is becoming increasingly apparent. Compared to 2021, China, India, and Turkey have significantly increased their trade with Russia in 2022. In trade related to automobiles, Russia has increased its imports from China by 80%. Taiwan has recently experienced a Me Too movement, with multiple people accused of sexual harassment, including former Democratic Progressive Party, DPP, staff, Chinese exiles in Taiwan, Kuomintang legislators, and those in the arts and media sectors. On June 6, Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen apologized again for the DPP sex scandal. On Facebook, she said, "As the president and former DPP chair, I want to apologize to society again. Not only in the DPP or other political parties, but sexual harassment incidents are rampant in all sectors of society." She said she is preparing to promote the 3 major reforms of gender equality, including formulating sexual harassment guidelines based on international practices and expert opinions, reviewing the practicality of gender equality complaint mechanisms, and conducting a comprehensive review of gender equality regulations. What do you think about this MeToo movement in Taiwan? Feel free to leave a comment and let us know. Hong Kong's pro-democracy political party, the Democratic Party, has discovered that multiple HSBC bank accounts belonging to its organization have been terminated. Members of the party said that this not only greatly impacts the organization's operations, but also tramples on the freedom of association and damages the image of Hong Kong as an international financial center. "Glory to Hong Kong" was widely sung during the 2019 anti-extradition bill protests. After the national security law came into effect in June 2020, the song was banned from being played or sung due to lyrics such as "The Dawn is Coming," "Let's Take Back Hong Kong," and "Fellow Children, for Justice, Revolution of Our Times," which authorities deemed as inciting separatism and subversion. The Hong Kong government said it respects and values freedom of speech, but freedom of speech is not absolute. On June 6, Hong Kong Executive Council member Ronnie Tong said that if a court issues an injunction, Google, YouTube, and others could potentially violate the law by not removing the song. He said that although Hong Kong laws have territorial jurisdiction, if Hong Kong residents commit crimes abroad, Hong Kong has the right to issue a warrant. The family members of North Korean diplomats stationed in Russia have been missing for 2 days and may be attempting to defect to South Korea. On June 4, Radio Free Asia reported that the family members of North Korean diplomat Kim Jin-sun and his son Park Gwon-ju had disappeared. They were reportedly sent to the Trade Representative Office of the North Korean Consulate General in Vladivostok, where they were employees of the wife and child of Park. According to the Asahi Shimbun, they may have left for China and may ultimately be seeking asylum in South Korea. Chinese regulatory authorities plan to strengthen control over the use of Bluetooth and Wi-Fi transmission of information by mobile phone users. China's National Internet Information Office released a draft for comments on Tuesday, June 6, on the regulations on the management of information services for proximity self-organizing networks, which stipulates that users of proximity self-organizing network information services may not use the service to publish or forward illegal information. Well-known Chinese political blogger Programming Xiaoshui was sentenced to 7 years in prison for inciting subversion of state power in February of this year. His wife, Ms. Bai, has been advocating for her husband's case. She previously used the Twitter account to update the progress of Programming Xiaoshui's second trial, relevant reports from various fields, and calls for his release, as well as her own situation. She emphasized in the account description, supporting positively, avoiding political discussions. However, it was recently reported that she had disappeared and her Twitter account was deleted. According to Radio Free Asia, Ms. Bai has been unreachable since May 31, and a search for her Twitter account, at Ruanjiaohu 32309, shows that the account no longer exists. There are currently reports on Twitter that Ms. Bai was taken away by the Changhai Road Police Station in the Yongpu district of Shanghai, but the authenticity of these reports cannot be independently verified. Bloomberg reported on Wednesday, June 7, that the Communist Party of China's Politburo has only failed to release meeting content 3 times in the past 5 years. However, in just the past 9 months, meeting content has not been released for 3 months, in November of last year, January and May of this year. As investor concerns about the Chinese government's strengthened information control intensify, the reduction in the release of Politburo meeting content has attracted attention. Chinese home appliances used to only focus on low prices in Japan, but now they are manufacturing products for young people in Japan, opening up a gap in the monopolized market. Japanese manufacturers are further turning to high value-added products. However, most opinions believe that relying solely on the improvement of hardware functions will eventually be caught up with. China's Anker has high-quality products in the charging-related field that are popular in Japan, with overseas sales accounting for more than 90%, while less than 4% in mainland China. Anker has launched various products such as projectors, headphones, and floor cleaners in recent years, and the CEO of the company's Japanese subsidiary said that high-priced goods sell well. Research on China's local government debt. There are no more bullets. The restructuring of local government debt or the resolution of local government debt issues will change China's entire economy. Any meaningful solution to the local government debt problem may trigger a significant structural slowdown in investment and a significant slowdown in economic growth over the next decade. As the world's second-largest economy, China's latest May import and export data shows that China's exports shrank in May, far exceeding expectations. The total value of exports in May, calculated in US dollars, fell by 7.5% year-on-year, the largest drop since January, and imports also fell by 4.5%, although the decline was slower than the 7.9% drop in the previous month. The data reflects that China's macroeconomic regulation cannot turn the tide, and the sharp depreciation of the renminbi cannot stimulate imports and exports, which is believed to hit China's economic growth performance for the whole year. China's property market cooled down in May. According to data released by market monitoring agencies, the transaction area of the property market in first-tier cities in May fell by nearly 13% month-on-month. Industry insiders in Shanghai have stated that the areas where foreigners reside in the city are almost empty, and commercial office buildings are facing the same situation, with the market downturn exceeding expectations. The era in which China focused on economic development has ended. American scholars are concerned that China's military, political, and economic coercion under Xi Jinping's rule in the name of national security will hinder economic development. China is facing a crisis in the domestic real estate market, and its aggressive actions internationally have raised concerns in the international community. Experts suggest that China should seek international cooperation and trust through persuasion rather than coercion. The Shanghai Public Security Bureau's Exit Entry Administration has received a total of 2.285 million Chinese citizens' exit entry documents in the past 5 months, an increase of 14.2% compared to the same period in 2019, setting a historical record. That's today's news summary. We hope you enjoyed it. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next issue. Take care, everyone.